Hi, everyone. This is Coach Connor again with our second episode of In the Treehouse. I am so happy today to have Brett Morton with us. We're going to be talking with Brett, who is one of the owners of Fake Grass Bros. We're going to learn a lot about him. As you can see, we are not in the treehouse. The treehouse is right up there. We are outside, but it is a bit breezy and colder than last week. And so we are sitting here by the fire near the treehouse instead of in the treehouse. But happy that you're back with us this week and looking forward to it. So, Brett, you and I have been working together for a year now, just over a year,
Yep.
and excited. So, this show is about dreams. And so, what I would love to hear first off is when you were a kid, and our age differences are enough that I probably think of you as a kid now.
It's close.
Yeah, yeah. But when you were, 5, 6, 7 years old, tell me about your treehouse, where or wherever it was that you got away from everything else and dreamed.
Yeah. So growing up, I was kind of a nerdy kid with big glasses, and so making friends was kind of tough in general. But one of the areas that I was successful in and that I dreamed about was baseball.
Oh,
And so I grew up playing baseball. I got pretty good at it. And so when I dreamed about what I was going to be when I grew up, it was, a famous baseball player, something like that. And definitely not anything along the lines of like what my career was going to look like. But at a young age, growing up as a pastor's kid, we focused a lot on our spiritual health, mental health. Yeah. And then when we talk about dreams, it wasn't so much about, what school am I going to go to, or, are you going to be a business owner? Are you going to be in some big firm or anything like that? It was always a lot more less tangible and a little bit more of a dreaming kind of deal.
Yeah.
And
very cool. So what team were you going to be playing on?
Of course, the San Francisco Giants. We lived in the Bay Area, and the A's were the Oakland A's were the bad guys, and the good guys were the San Francisco Giants. Back when Barry Bonds was popular. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but people got mixed feelings about that guy, but he was great.
Back in the asterisk era.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So you said you grew up as a pastor's son. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that, and I mean, you did some mission work or some other things as tell us about that.
Yeah. So, even before my dad was a pastor, he was a revolutionary in South Africa. He fought against the apartheid. When by the time, I was growing up, he was in his, 50s and 60s, and then passed away in his 70s. So I knew him in his older age, but as a young buck, he fought against apartheid until he was exiled from South Africa.
Wow.
Yeah. And so
your dad was exiled
till Nelson Mandela came back into power. He was not allowed to enter the country. So
really,
that was a big part of his formative years.
Yeah.
And then he took that passion and dedicated himself to the Lord. He's a Methodist pastor for a little while. Ended up being a non-denominational pastor as I was growing up.
Yeah.
But he was really passionate about fighting for the people.
Yeah.
So he was always about people.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of values that he instilled in his children.
Wow.
And so growing up, even as a pastor, he always focused on bringing people together. And so, he spent a lot of time getting different denominations together, different pastors together. He founded this group where there was a Catholic priest, a United Methodist preacher, and Baptist and non-denominations, all these guys and women would get together. Yeah. And so I got to see a lot of that growing up and see how he would be discipled by those people and disciple others. And so he was more than just a pastor. He was a real father figure to a lot of people growing up. And so I placed a high value on that as well. Relationship was like the number one thing that as I began to grow up and kind of sort of form what I wanted to be as I grew up. I contemplated, getting into ministry as well. Yeah. Contemplated, maybe I could be a pastor in the future, but I knew that the heart of it was just about investing in people around me and being invested by people that would honor me in that way as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I have so many questions, but And I think about, my limited knowledge of South Africa. One of the really cool things that I know of it is the reconciliation committees that happened after. And I mean, was your dad involved in some of that?
He wasn't, but one of his best friends from South Africa was, and I'm going to space on his name right now. He's come and visited our family a couple times, once since Dad passed away. But he was actually one of the leaders that formed that committee to start doing the hearings and stuff like that.
Wow.
But so he has close ties with all that. And that little shout out that maybe not a whole lot of people will get the reference, but my brother's godfather, Cliff Morton, his godfather was Steve Biko, which was one of the forefronts in fighting against apartheid as well.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's an incredible heritage. So how does that shape what you do today? And tell us a little bit about, how you went from dreaming about baseball to being fake grass pros now.
Oh gosh,
big jump.
Yeah, I don't want to unpack too much before we get to it, but we'll kind of sort of just make it happen organically. So, coming out of high school, I went to Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry. I knew that, I wanted to be involved in ministry in some sort, whether as a pastor or just being a part of the church. And so, going and getting that training and getting exposed to, Bethel culture was a big deal, and we followed that culture pretty strongly as my dad was helping pastor, and so I went and did an internship out there for a year, and came back to South Carolina. So it was in California. I came back to South Carolina, and just really felt like the Lord was saying, okay, well, the next step is to start putting together a career, and what does that look like? So this is where I had less direction, and so I, even though I had a lot of really good stuff in me, I wasn't very disciplined. I didn't really have a strong compass on what that meant professionally.
How old were you then?
That would be 18 or 19.
Yeah, where a lot of people don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, so I did what everybody does usually the first year out of high school, but it was a year delayed for me. But I went to the local technical college, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I had some background in doing some respite care, so I was like, I'll try nursing, and that didn't really work out for me. I wasn't really passionate about it, so I was like, I'll do psychology because that's what Mom does. I love the field, and it didn't really work out for me. So I realized I'm putting together all this college debt. I don't enjoy that. So I was like, well, why don't I let somebody else pay for me to go to college? So I signed up for the South Carolina Air National Guard. Okay. And
which you are active.
Yes.
now.
Yeah. So I was 10 years enlisted. I've been commissioned for the last 2 years as well. And it has been an amazing journey. The Small Fox family there has shaped and molded me, almost as much as my own father did, and as much as my mother did. And those years growing up were very important, but shaping me into the professional person that I am today. The Guard and the Air Force has played a huge role, and those values that you get in that training shaped me to and push me in the direction where I ended up as a paralegal in the Air Guard. Got some exposure to legal assistance and some contracting law and stuff like that, and realized I really enjoy this kind of work. I like the attention to detail. I like kind of sort of the direction that we're headed. And I love the family that was there that were mentoring me and pouring into me. So I took that, got a bachelor's in paralegal studies from Liberty University. Liberty University does a really good job of incorporating biblical values into your training as well and into your education. So I love that experience as well. And so I was like, all right, well, it's time to go to law school. And so around that time frame, I'd spent some time with one of my best friends from high school. We went to Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry together. Michael Lynch, he's one of your students as well. He's actually the one that introduced us. And, I've been doing some work with him, helping him get that company off the ground. And he said, hey, what do you think about coming to Georgia, helping me get this company established more? They were already doing great things. He built an amazing team. And so he hired me on as the CEO, or that's what he was offered. So we prayed on it as a family and decided to make that move on the vision casting that, we're going to do this thing for a while, but ultimately Michael and I would be starting up another business after that. And
And I remember just about this time last year, maybe a little bit more,
Mhm.
we met up in the North Georgia mountains,
Yep.
you and Michael and
Oh,
I,
yeah.
and talked about how this was all going to come about, which
Yeah.
is really cool.
Yes, and that's one of the pivotal things when it and I know one of the things we'll talk about is maybe some advice for entrepreneurs, and we'll unpack that a little bit later. But those moments where you steal away and you say this is going to be more than just a vision.
Yeah.
We're going to actually put together some to-dos, some things that we need to accomplish, and really flesh out what it looks like to not just dream about starting up a company or pursuing the vision, but like let's actually flesh out what that's going to look like and start accomplishing some of those things. So that moment where we stole away to the mountains for a little while and had you come up and give us some pointers and coach us up a little bit was a huge moment for us to really start fleshing out what that was going to look like. So a couple years after being the CEO, we launched Fake Grass Bros, and it's been a vision ever since.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed doing it. By the way, you referred to Michael, just so people know. Michael Lynch, he'll be on the show. We don't have him scheduled yet, but we'll get him scheduled. He owns L Squared Playgrounds, which is a great, fun business that builds playgrounds and splash pads all over the country. And I mean, talk about dreams. I mean, that's where dreams happen for a lot of people, kids, is on the playgrounds.
Yeah.
So,
and they're this big push they've made into I want to steal away from the story at all, but this big push that they've made into splash pads as well. Just watching how the play features kind of turned into a splash pad thing. It's really a great company, great team, great leaders.
Yeah. So look forward to when we put word out that Michael's going to be here. You want to tune into that. He's a great guy, great visionary, and doing cool stuff. But back to you. So what was it like, going from that mountain retreat, right? And then stepping into this whole deal of, oh my gosh, it's one thing to have a dream. It's another to make it reality.
Ooh, yeah. It's intimidating. Absolutely. You're the fun that they may call it the honeymoon phase is the dreaming part, right?
Yeah.
But then once you're out on your own and once you're responsible for the success and failure, it can be very intimidating.
Yeah.
But one of the core value, if not one of the core values, is to be a kingdom-centered business. And so if you relied, or if your belief system is like, this thing lives and dies off of me and what I do, that can be very intimidating. But it's actually a comfort to know that if you're submitting all of your plans, if you're essentially allowing the Lord to guide your steps, and we call the Holy Spirit kind of like a cheat code in business, because he's a lot smarter than we are.
Yeah.
And so allowing the Holy Spirit to kind of guide those steps can make it a lot more manageable, because you're operating from a place of victory. Yeah. And so his burden is light, his yoke is easy, right? And so staying true to that core value allows you to weather, the tough times, knowing that you're operating from a place of victory. And the inverse is true as well. Even in moments of big success, you still approach it with the same mentality that that's just the Lord working out things for our good.
Well, and one of the things, I talk with people, and we've talked about, right, is you cannot be in business if you don't have an element of faith, right? Because there is no guarantee that next, contract is going to be coming. Yeah. There is no guarantee that, you're going to get the check from that client, right? I mean, it is an exercise in faith almost every day.
100%.
And if it's just a faith in yourself, oh my gosh, that's scary.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's, if you're, especially if it's dependent on just you and your faith is, self-centric, the success of your business depends on, your state. Like, what if you're having a bad day? What if you're having a rough week or something like that? Then all of a sudden your business model becomes a lot more volatile, because your foundation is based on your ability to sustain and your ability to stay even keel, as opposed to it being reliant on, something that's above yourself. Yeah.
Well, and to that point, I mean, some of the things that we've talked about over the past year, and you don't have to divulge all your deepest, but are some of those fluctuations, right?
Yeah. No, for sure.
I mean, there's been some highs and there's been some lows.
Yeah.
Right. one, how do you deal with the low when it's like, you know what, I'm ready to check out?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, a couple things, right?
because no business owner out there has ever had the thought go through their head that, oh my gosh, I'm just ready to pack it in.
No, definitely not.
Nobody except for us sitting here.
Yeah,
ever.
smooth sailing usually.
Yeah.
No, I think that's oh man, that's a very it's a perfect question because I don't think there's an answer. I think it's a combination and a level of humility that allows you to lean on other people to be strong when you're weak or where you're weak.
Yeah.
And so being mentored and discipled, by people that have more experience, that have more education, that are willing to take the time to pour into you, like when we started using you as a coach, or even partnerships, like whether it was Michael Lynch at a point, or now Mitch as one of my minority owners in the company. I mean, he's my right hand, he's my rock, and so in those moments of where I feel like I'm wavering, he's the right type of personality to come and say, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're amazing. You're awesome. Or even the inverse. If I'm getting too high on myself, right? Or like I'm killing it, like, yay, okay, but like, let's not get ahead of ourselves too much, right? Just having people like that in your life that are willing to challenge you, check you, and pump you up, when you need it. Because every there's a poem by Rudyard Kipling called If.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite lines is, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters the same. And it's this idea that, staying true to yourself, staying true to your identity is your ability to treat seasons of success and seasons of failure with the same level of humility, the same level of intentionality. That's been the motto and the thing that's really propelled us forward as Fake Grass Bros and as individuals.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that quote. I don't think I've heard that particular quote.
The whole poem in itself, If by Rudyard Kipling, is one of the greatest poems of all time, in my opinion. And it's got so many nuggets of truth there. And I don't know that Rudyard Kipling was necessarily a faith-based man, but man, there's a lot of biblical truth in there.
So the element of bringing other people in and relying on other people, and I have to go back to thinking about you as a young child and where your dad came from and everything that he went through. How much that must have formulated the idea that the whole apartheid movement couldn't have been abolished by a single person.
No,
right?
For sure.
We often think, oh, it was Nelson Mandela, but there were a lot of people working together, and all of it, and how that collaboration of resources impacts you today. Right.
Yeah, I mean, just from the revolutionary standpoint, I mean, there were multiple organizations, whether it was an underground movements or overt movements that were working against apartheid. It takes humility for, like, my dad was one of the leaders of a underground movement called SAMRAP, and it was them working in partnership with other programs like that in South Africa. It was them working in partnership when he got stateside to get propaganda out to South Africa and smuggling people that were being recruited in the army out of South Africa, and then taking that same level of commitment to teaming on into ministry. And so he knew. I mean, he's a legend, but he knew that it wasn't about him. He knew that it was about the people. He knew that it was like the people locking arms with him in the trenches. And the same could be said on the ministry side of really partnering with other ministries.
That's awesome. So how does, going back to those low times, because I think I mean, I've only read about it through history and otherwise, the tremendous struggles, right? Seeing where people face those struggles. Y'all see it's really windy. It's getting windy here. But seeing those struggles and people facing them, right? how do you, again, I mean, Mitch is a great resource, but facing struggles and what's a big struggle that you're going through right now? If you want to share.
Yeah, so I would say it's more, the biggest struggle right now is in the business side of like, and what are we talking about almost every week that we meet is this idea of sale, like leads, sales, and conversions, right?
Yeah.
Both Mitch and I are not strong, like our strength is not sales, our strength is not conversions. And so how are you mentored? How do you allow people to pour into you to kind of sort of help you gain strength in that area? Or what we've really done, and this is a lot to do with your coaching, is how do you lean more into your strengths to help make up for some of the areas of weakness, right? And so one of the things that we are really good at is relationship, building relationship, maintaining relationship. And so, instead of so much of the traditional sales tactic, we've been able to lean into the relationship side where we get face-to-face with people that would be potential clients, whether it's going to conferences, going to Rotary Club, going to local commerce meetings, like that kind of stuff, and getting face-to-face with other people that would present as potential clients and letting them connect with us and see what we're about, who we are, and what makes us stand out, and why should you team up with us. And so that has been a much bigger hit rate for us, and that's been easier for us to lean into those strengths. The biggest struggle has, the way that we've addressed that is by leaning into what we've identified as our strengths.
Well, and I think in sales, and we've talked about this as well, is sales oftentimes people think is just pushing a product.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody likes that kind of sales. I mean, it's effective for some, but most people don't like their product pushed down their throat. Right? It's about really developing that relationship, developing that, friendship, and letting it go from there.
Yeah, I mean, even think about like from a marketing perspective, very few people are actually interested in the product itself. And Apple is like the top of the mountain at doing this. Like they're not selling you an iPhone, they're not selling you a MacBook. They're selling you a culture.
Exactly.
And that's what makes them so successful. They shifted their focus from the product to the relationship to the culture that you're indoctrinated into, so to speak. And so for us at Fake Grass Bros, that's a big focus for us as well, is showing that like we're not a synthetic grass company, so to speak, that we're a team. And that what we are, the big selling point for us is who you're partnering with and what we're about.
And the whole idea that sales, 80% of sales is based on emotion. Not logic and not the product. Right? I mean, it's just, how is the product going to make me feel? And if it makes me feel good, then I want that product. Especially here in the United States. Right?
For sure.
We are a very, abundant country. And people like to feel good. And so buying it, it gives a good satisfaction.
I mean, think about where typically your disposable income goes. It goes into buying the nicer truck, or it goes into a Caribbean cruise. It goes into things that make us feel good.
Not into things we need.
Right.
Things that we want. Things that
less people are maybe making the fiscally frugal choice to, while I've got disposable income, I'm going to invest into stocks and stuff like. No, I want to go. I need this new truck, or things that make me feel emotionally high.
So you mentioned some of your customers. I would love to hear about some of the folks that you have helped to get that experience.
Man, some of the more maybe bigger names that we've worked with at Bristol Motor Speedways, they're updating some of their areas for, they've got a lot of the culture there is that people
bring NASCAR race.
They bring out their RVs and they come and stay the weekend just for a race. And so where they have the RVs, they got more common areas that they're doing turf in. Some of their office space has some greenery around it. We've done that. So just generally commercial spaces in the area.
That's a pretty cool client to have.
Oh yeah. So and also they were amazing to work with. Just their leadership team up there was incredible to work with. They've got a great crew up there. Same thing with Troy University. They on campus they've got a daycare there that they wanted some turf out on the around the playground, the play area. So we were able to do that.
So you put turf in playgrounds.
Yeah. So we pretty much anything commercial, and that can be play spaces, event spaces, amphitheaters, all the way to even residential stuff, putting greens, all that kind of thing.
Oh,
so,
putting greens.
Oh yeah.
What do you think about right up over there?
Yeah, I think that's a great
it's
idea.
too much of a slope.
No, we can fix the slope. We can fix that for sure.
Tell me more about like daycares and playgrounds. That must be, a cool thing to be able to do.
Absolutely, and that's actually where we got our start, right? So Mitch and I worked with Michael Lynch at a playground installation company, and we noticed that a lot of daycares or just any area that was doing play spaces was shifting away from this engineered wood fiber, which is a cheaper option, but you've got to refresh it every year, or really mostly every quarter. If you're
what you said something wood fiber.
Engineered wood fiber. It's mulch, essentially.
Mulch.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, not like the mulch.
People may not know what mulch is.
No,
100%. Or wood fiber, but mulch.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. But the reason why they call it engineered wood fiber, it's not like the mulch you find out in your yard or whatnot. It's a specific type of wood that they have to use for safety purposes. So
the high dollar stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. For the play industry, you have to have a minimum level of safety surfacing for kids that fall off the playground. And so the cheapest option is engineered wood fiber, and it's the temporary fix, right? Because you gotta, one, it's messy.
Yeah.
Two, the kids eat it.
Yeah.
And three, it's a constant upkeep.
Yeah.
And so what people are finding is that investing a little bit more upfront to do synthetic grass. Another option is rubber, like different types of rubber as well.
Yeah.
But then you got all these chemicals, and that's another concern, especially for daycares and stuff like that, and what the impacts are when you're dealing with like glues and chemicals and stuff like that. But the synthetic grass has been the preferred option for these play spaces because one, the maintenance is minimal, the longevity, and the mess, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't have any of the mess. You're not worried about the kids picking up and eating the stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just a better option all around. It's a better investment for the future.
Yeah. You've got a good marketing spiel there.
No, I appreciate that. My coach is put in a lot of time and work into that marketing scheme.
That's awesome. And the fact that we've talked about kids in the playground and anyone who has a preschooler that they send to preschool,
right? And
a nice rainy day like we had yesterday here,
right?
And they're going out on the playground today. How are they coming home today?
We're that's absolutely a good point, but it's not even just the mess, but like when you think about rainy days, a lot of daycares won't let the kids out to go and get out there and play because of the mess, right? But if you have synthetic grass as what your safety surfacing is, you're able 30 minutes to an hour after it rains to be able to get the kids out there and not worry about the mess because of the drainage and all that other kind of stuff. It just frees up your schedule to not be so impacted by weather in general.
Yeah.
And so one of the pivotal things in a daycare is getting the kids out to play and not just keeping them indoors. And synthetic grass gives you more options to be able to do that.
That's very cool. So playgrounds, motor speedways, university, where else? I mean, you shared with me about Florida State. There may be one or two Florida State grads.
There could be. So their iconic fountain out there that you see on ESPN a lot. I forget the name of the fountain, but that was actually the first job that Fake Grass Pros was contracted to turn from what was just regular grass into synthetic grass. Yeah. So and there's pictures of it on the website and stuff like that. But that was a really cool inaugural job for Fake Grass Pros.
Wow.
And so even though we have been doing synthetic grass for a long time, this is the first job after we made it its own company. And Fake Grass Pros is their first job out the door was with Florida State University on just an amazing opportunity. So that was really cool as well.
That's some big time things.
Yeah. No, the Lord has been good from the get go. I mean, not just with the jobs themselves, but partnership with Field Turf. The number one commercial synthetic grass manufacturer in the world was our partner out the gate. And so being able to get the highest quality product at a competitive pricing to other companies that were maybe of lesser quality, but because of the pricing that they give us, it allows us to pass that on to the customer. to compete with, that the average pricing with a higher level quality product. But not just that. I mean, they partner with us on the leads perspective. They partner with us on the design phase. And that's one of the things that makes us unique as a synthetic grass company is that we call it from cradle to grave. And so a lot of times people think of a project synthetic grass wise of just being install and go away. But we're involved from the design phase to the install phase, and then even afterwards when it comes to like Fake Grass Pros as an install company has a 1-year warranty, but then Field Turf has anywhere between an 8 to 10-year warranty. And a lot of times, once you're past the installer warranty, you think that you got to go and talk to the manufacturer, which can be kind of cumbersome. But no, that's not the way that we handle it. Even if it's a manufacturer defect, you come to us as a customer, even though it's past the install time frame. And we will liaison that manufacturer claim.
So customer service is
high. Well, I mean, we define it as more than just customer service, but it's that core value of being a kingdom centric and wanting to have the vision is to have the highest quality experience, not the highest quality install, not the highest quality product, the highest quality experience when it comes to the synthetic grass industry. And the way that we do that is making sure that anytime that we have somebody that's willing to entrust us with turning their green space into something with synthetic grass, is that they know that from the design phase to the install phase and even any kind of warranty issues, that they can come to us and we're going to be advocates for them all along the process.
So you've mentioned a couple times values.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit about the values of Fake Grass Pros and why is it important to have those values?
Longevity. If the reason it's important to us is one, that's because we're the way we were raised and that's what we're passionate about. The vision for starting up Fake Grass Pros wasn't about synthetic grass. The vision for the playground installation company wasn't about playgrounds. It wasn't about splash pads. It was about building, developing a team, mentoring, discipling, investing in people who will then go. And our vision is to invest in people that then go pursue their own visions, and we can invest in them, mentor and disciple them. And so the best way to do that is kingdom values for us, And so the way that Jesus discipled 12, which then went and impacted the whole world, we want that same kind of model and mentality when it comes to our team, when it comes to our relationships with manufacturing partners, to customers, to even internally within our own teams, is that we're training up people that will then go and train up other people with the same kind of values that we have. And those are kingdom values.
Very cool. So over the past couple of years that you've been, doing Fake Grass Pros, what is one bit of advice that you give somebody who's starting a business?
There are a lot of visionaries. There's a lot of dreamers. We have, we're surrounded by a lot.
The theme of the show, dreaming.
No, 100%. And that's what this is. It's a call out to those kind of people of like, if there's dreamers, there's visionaries. The difference between a dreamer and a visionary and an entrepreneur is action. So being willing to, one of the ways that we talked about the moment when we stole away to the mountains for a little while. It was a combination of moments like that where we said, okay, this isn't just a dream. It's not just a vision. We need to actually flesh out what it looks like. And so it's a combination of figuring out what it is that you're passionate about and coming up with a game plan. And so people may be discouraged by that first step because they're like, well, I don't know what it takes. Actually, you do. It's moments like this. It's people like coaches and asking them to mentor you and pour into you and say, what will it take day one to start this company up or to pursue this vision or to become a coach or to become like whatever it is that you're passionate about. It's turning that dream into actionable intel and then creating a schedule that you hold yourself to start knocking those dominoes over.
We talked, about those strategic things and not doing everything. Right. You can't do everything.
Eat the elephant one bite at a time.
So what are the strategic things that are going to get done? And I love the fact that you're like, people will say, well, I don't know what the next step is.
Right.
And it's like, yes, you do.
Of course you do.
You know, I mean, I've said that to you
Yeah.
once or twice. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know what to do. You know, just
Just do it.
yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
Well, but the other side of it is sometimes you know what to do, but there's also this little thing that's called fear,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And fear is a killer of dreams.
Yep.
Right. So is there anything, any fear that you would share? It's like, yeah, this was something I was afraid of, but and we define fear as false expectations appearing real.
Yeah.
Fear isn't a real thing.
Yeah.
It's just something that stands in our way.
Yeah, I don't mind being vulnerable at all. I remember when we first moved down to Georgia, and I took on the role as CEO. Right out the gate, imposter syndrome. Of like, I knew that I had valuable skill sets that I could bring to the table, but what did I know about building playgrounds?
Yeah.
What did I know about running a company?
Yeah.
And so being willing to, moments of fear are a great opportunity for humility. Moments of fear are a great opportunity to be mentored, to be poured into, identifying that you have a weakness and asking people to fill in where you're weak, and allowing yourself to focus on the areas where you're strong and be mentored in the areas where you're weak. And so the biggest proponent for getting past those fears was humility. To be able to ask, to be able to be honest about what you don't know, instead of trying to blaze into territories that you have no idea what it's going to take to overcome those hurdles. Identify the people that have the experience, identify the people that have the knowledge, and say, I need you.
Yeah.
Like I'm awesome. I know things. I'm good at certain things, but if you're not vulnerable enough, if you're not humble enough to say, I need help in these areas, and those are markers of good leaders. The leaders that identify people where that's their strengths, and not only do you ask for help, but it's opportunities to elevate your team. It's opportunities to let your team succeed in areas where you might not have succeeded.
That's awesome. I love what you guys are doing. I just think it's cool. I like working with cool people. I like working with cool businesses, and
It's been exciting.
whole idea. So as you think about and well, is there anything you want to share before we kind of start to wrap things up?
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, we, the idiom of you don't know what you don't know is never more apparent than when you start a business, and we talked about, one of the main themes to this was leaning on people that have the experience. I don't know where we would be if we didn't reach out and say, hey, we need some coaching. We need some mentorship. We need somebody that's willing to not just to give us the tools, but also, pardon my French, kicking the ass, right? And so just being willing to be called out in a real way. That's been a motivating factor for Mitch and I. That's made a real difference in pushing the company forward, one thing at a time. One other thing I would add, we talked about some advice for potential entrepreneurs, and you come up with this to-do list, and like one of the inhibiting factors, you may know what to do, but there's still the fear factor. You start with the small achievable things to where you begin to see results in small ways. And those little victories begin to chip away at fear, because then you get a taste of what success looks like, succeeding at a low level, which, and it's the biblical concept of he is entrusted with a little and succeeds will be entrusted with a lot, right? And so when you do well at stewarding those small things, big things will come into you.
And it's the other, I think, in the whole idea of stewardship and the parable of the talents, right? Where it's the ones who went and used and did something that got prosperous. And it was the one who didn't do anything, who didn't take action, that was chastised.
A little note that I think some people forget as well sometimes, and this is maybe a little salt in the wound, so to speak. But not only was he chastised, but then the master takes that and gives it to the one who invested wisely, right? And so it's added unto him
Yeah.
for people that were not stewarding well, he'll give that vision to somebody else.
Yes.
It's not like you not stewarding the vision well is going to prevent, the Lord from being able to push that vision forward. He'll just give it to somebody else. So we're called to be good stewards of vision, of resources.
And to take action.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an action coach.
Yeah. Don't bury it.
Yeah. But you have to take action.
Yeah.
You talked about how, it is a matter of, you have a vision, you have a dream, but it goes nowhere if you don't take action.
Right.
Right. If you don't put it into a plan and you don't execute on the plan, it'll die on the vine.
The enemy of success is complacency.
Yeah. So, all right. So what is your next big thing? We're looking at 2025. It's exciting. We're at the end of the year.
Yeah.
We've got this great year that's coming ahead of us. What do you see for Fake Grass Pros in 2025?
Stewardship, still continue to be good stewards of our revenue for 2024 is already being eclipsed by the revenue of the POs that we have issued for 2025. So we know that, the Lord's already honoring us in 2025 with just increase.
Yeah.
And so then
I love hearing that as a business coach.
It's working.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
It's the investment is worth it.
Yes, it is. Yeah, no, for sure. I couldn't agree more. And, as far as projects go, without, we haven't been awarded the PO, but we're on the precipice of this big, 30,000 square foot job, at Fort Jackson in South Carolina, which is, as a South Carolina Air National Guard member, we're 10 minutes up the road from Fort Jackson. So it's kind of sort of in our own backyard. Yeah. But just an opportunity to work with the military for just an amazing project. They've got this drill instructor academy out there, and they're looking to upgrade it. So being able to partner with them, it feels a little bit more like service as well. So we're pretty excited about that. And then some other big projects here in the Atlanta area as we partner with some manufacturers.
So it sounds like you're going to be scaling up this year.
Oh, big time. Yeah. And this is a good opportunity. This maybe after the fact, probably should have mentioned it earlier, but one of the big successes for us is knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
And there's a book called Profit First, and then E-Myth and a couple other books that emphasize this idea from out the gate, knowing your numbers and knowing what your margins are, knowing what your costs are. And so even when we didn't really have a lot of revenue to have to worry about all the numbers, we established the practices early on. Yeah. And that has made it a lot easier to scale as we know where we need to be. And we don't, it's very easy to think that I need to go out and buy a machine, buy a trailer, buy a truck, and get really prepped for all this work that's going to come in, right?
Yeah.
But if you can be disciplined in your spending habits and say, okay, well, until we get the jobs that are going to justify that kind of overhead, be disciplined in the way that we bid our jobs, knowing that we're going to have to rent out some of this material and limiting your overhead so that when the revenue does come in, you're spending money that you're already is in pocket as opposed to projecting out what you're going to get and spending money based on that. So we came out of the first year without any debt. And we're already projecting a higher revenue for 2025. So we know that money is going to be in the bank later on to be able to then you take money that you already have and reinvest it back in the company. Right. That's a recipe for success and longevity.
I remember us talking about some of those equipment conversations and saying,
we'll wait on that a little bit.
Maybe it's not the right time. Not that it's
good advice.
Well, you made the decision. I just threw out and gave you things to think about. So, well, that is so cool. I look forward to working with you this year and helping you to scale and more than doubling our numbers from 2024 and 2025 and reaching the abundance that you guys are looking forward to.
Yeah. So, and if anybody wants to connect with you on LinkedIn and reach out to you,
absolutely,
just get some of the same stuff that we're getting. I think that's a great idea. And then if you're wanting to connect with Fake Grass Pros or me, LinkedIn is the best way to go as well.
Well, yeah, and as you mentioned, I mean, you don't just do big commercial jobs.
Nope.
You do some cool commercial jobs, but you do residential things, and there are people out there who are tired of mowing grass and things like that. And if they're not in an HOA that prevents it, you can put in some stuff that
Yeah.
looks awesome.
One of the cool things we like to do as well, there's like there's been a big push as well for indoor facilities as well, like fitness facilities, indoor practice arenas, like that kind of stuff. We handle that kind of stuff as well.
So if any of you out there, are interested in talking with Brett, how can they get in touch with you?
LinkedIn, Facebook, Fake Brass Pros has its own Facebook, its own Instagram, and its own LinkedIn. And then I've got my own LinkedIn as well.
All right.
So any of those ways are easy enough to get in touch.
And your email is
Brett at fakegrasspros, and then those are the best ways.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Brett, thank you so much for being here.
It's been an honor.
It's a pleasure to have you, and maybe we'll have you back when it's warmer and we can actually be in the treehouse.
I look forward to it. It looks like a pretty cool spot.
Yeah, it's a fun spot up there. But I really appreciate you.
The fire in the background is a nice touch.
Oh,
it's beautiful.
We have needed it today. It feels awesome.
Yeah, my left shoulder warm.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So thank you all. This show is certainly cannot be done without a ton of support people who make it happen. I want to thank my producer, Alec, who is in the background, backstage right now, doing a lot of work and helping us. I want to thank everybody at Fist Bump who helped to produce this and take this and then reuse it for some of the marketing things and for Fake Grass, and we'll put it out on your LinkedIn so people can see the show out there. We're just so happy that people can get out and see it, and hopefully you have been challenged to think about some of your dreams today, where you are, and how those dreams can become a reality. And certainly would love to talk with you about that. Get in touch with me, and I want to hear about your dreams. So, Brett,
thanks so much. I appreciate it.
You bet. Have a great day, folks.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.